Good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for joining us. Today's topic is Analytics and Insights for Associations 2022. And I'm very much pleased to be joined by Rebecca Duff. My name is Shepard Smith. I am a mere marketer. I use data analytics in my work, much as you would, but Rebecca is on another level. She is our Director of Client Success and spends her days on the front lines guiding and brainstorming with associations about how they can better use analytics. So Rebecca, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Shepard.
I'm going to try to give us first a bit of classic webinar context. You can hear us, we can't hear you, but we'd love to hear your comments or questions in the Q&A panel at any point. This is being recorded and we'll send out a copy of this for you and colleagues at any point. And just to provide a couple minutes of context that I hope will be useful, first, a sort of a stark slide with a pair of statistics. The first is an amazing one. At the typical association today, only 20% of member data is stored in the AMS or the CRM. This is very good reasons. We all use things like marketing automation, event systems, learning management systems, et cetera, our online community. But what it means is data is siloed, data is fragmented. And when paired with the second statistic, which is only 18% of association professionals can easily join member data together from various resources to paint a clear picture. It shows the position that most of us are in trying to understand as much as we can about our evolving member clusters and their differing needs. And so what we're going to try to do today is show you one approach. The good news is technology can help. And the concept behind this particular approach, Nucleus, is to bring together data from all your different sources. This image is just a representation. It is a sample of showing, for example, any AMS, Expo or other pathable event tools, SurveyMonkey, et cetera. Whatever you're using, the idea behind Nucleus is to bring everything together into a data lake for analysis and use. Nucleus happens to have been the first analytics solution built specifically for associations. Again, this is basic context. Out of the box, it provides functionality for you to use across the board, but also is incredibly flexible. And the point of it is to deliver insights to staff, leadership, chapters, the board, and even members. So one more slide about this. The notion here, the concept here that I think brings us all together is analytics for everyone. They'll let everyone start their day with a cup of coffee and a dashboard of those things they care about most. The membership team sees what they need to. Marketing could be what they need to, events, et cetera. And that's also tailorable per individual. And so the idea is, one, to solve the data silo challenge and not make decisions based on incomplete information, to arm teams throughout the organization with the data they need to make decisions with confidence, and then to move forward and to gain deeper insights into things like engagement scoring. Imagine how limited engagement scoring is if you're only scoring a fraction of the data, representing to your members total member value. Again, you're underrepresenting if you can't capture all their engagement. And overall, to provide a structure and a mechanism for becoming a data-driven organization. And a thought about that, recent McKinsey study showed that organizations that use data well, per their definition, are 23 times more likely to outperform their competitors in acquiring new customers, 19 times more likely to achieve above average profitability, and 15 times more likely to deliver better value to the customers/members. And so we all know data understanding is a good thing, knowledge is good, but here's some metrics to show that it really does matter. And with that, I'm going to hand off to Rebecca, and she'll show us examples of how this is being done at associations today.
All right, thanks, Shepard. I am going to share my screen. All right, here we go. So as Shepard mentioned, I'm the Director of Client Success for the Nucleus product, which means that I get to spend my day all day working with clients, helping clients implement Nucleus, making sure they're making the most of it, and making sure that we're meeting their needs. And so what I would like to do today is walk through, I've kind of broken my walkthrough today into two different things, kind of what I consider the basics, what's possible today, kind of when you're looking for a solution, Nucleus or otherwise, what should you be looking for? And what are kind of the basic things that you need in an analytics tool so that you can take that burden off of whoever is bearing it right now. And then I want to pivot into kind of some new things. So as we start to look ahead to 2022, maybe you're doing some budget planning, maybe you're doing some whiteboarding, maybe you're doing, some dreaming about how we can, take your association to the next level. Put some ideas in your head for you to kind of noodle over after you leave us today. And then if you want to dive deeper afterwards, we will share my contact information, and I would love the opportunity to dive into it a little bit deeper with you. So with that being said, let's start with what I consider kind of the very most important thing when we're getting a tool like this up and running. And that is making sure that everyone is using the same numbers. So it may seem obvious, but it bears repeating, because every time we go to implement a new client, it still makes me giggle every time, but I always say, okay, who can tell me how we define a member? And we go around the room or around the call or whatever, and you always get at least 2 different definitions of how we define a member. And so to me, that screams, there is a problem at this organization. It can be easily fixed, but the solution is everybody needs to have the same numbers. And we need to take that, that opportunity to tweak those numbers and use your own calculation out of it. And we need to standardize how you are reporting as an organization on your most basic metrics. That means, what logic are we using? How are we counting our members? How are we doing certain calculations? How do we calculate retention? All of those things can have variable components. And so when they're not defined and they're not established across the organization, they are left to the individual, whoever is running the query, running the report, doing the analysis, and then it leaves it up to their creativity and maybe Google, whoever they're consulting on their process, which can then create skewed results and result in using different metrics across the organization. So the very first thing, and the thing that we always start with in Nucleus, is we have to be reporting on the same numbers. So we nail down the logic, we make sure we're all using the same logic, whether that is how are we calculating the number of members that we have, how are we defining who is an active member, who is an expired member, how are we calculating member retention? You'll see a couple of those examples here. Defining those definitions is really important, implementing them, agreeing to them across the organization. But then what I really love that we've done in Nucleus is we have embedded a data glossary within Nucleus. And so what we're able to do then is we are able to take, and you can see here that I can show a couple different definitions, and I'll show a couple of these as we go throughout today. These definitions can take different forms. And so what we've done is we've implemented a really flexible data glossary that allows you to take some data governance that maybe you were doing outside of your analytics tool before, or that you knew you needed to be doing, but it's just one more thing for you to do and one more thing for you to manage. We've shifted it all within Nucleus. So now you just have one place for all of this information to live. So now what we're able to do is we're able to define how we are calculating, for example, members. We are able to have one place where everyone goes to get their member numbers, and we are putting it into words so that if someone ever needs to know, maybe you're bringing someone new on board, maybe someone is just a little bit rusty, someone wants to, brush up on their definitions, all of that lives here within Nucleus, and all of it shows up wherever the related term appears, so that you always have that data at your fingertips. And you'll see, I mentioned this can take on a couple different forms. So here you'll see our total members definition is a little bit longer because we wanted to spell out each of the key components. Here you'll see we very quickly threw in what does activity month, represent. Here we're actually getting into specific fields. So this can take on a variety of forms, but what matters most is that it is documented and is accessible, both to the folks that are using the tool, and it can be managed internally so that you all, as you make changes or as you clarify definitions, you can go in, you can make a quick update, and it lives with you all and grows with you as an organization. So other things, again, that I would consider kind of, status quo, what we would expect to get out of a tool today, and what you should be looking for, if you're looking to, kind of bring an analytics solution on board, is the ability to very quickly kind of, slice and dice your data and what you're looking for. The way that Nucleus is set up is Nucleus is intended, and Shepherd had a really great graphic for showing this, is Nucleus is intended to bring in all of your data from all of your different sources and really easily layer it on top of each other. So we're taking that burden off of you. Before I worked with Nucleus, I worked in services and supported associations and nonprofit clients there. And I know that integrations were a very hot topic when I was there, 5-8-ish years ago, because everyone wanted to bring their data together, and it's not easy to do. It requires pivot tables or expensive integrations, and that is why we created Nucleus. And so now you're able to bring in data from different modules or different systems or different spreadsheets, wherever it lives, layer it together, and then very easily slice and dice. So while we only have 4 charts on this page, for example, we have other filters over here on the right that allow us to very quickly and easily look at our data a couple different ways. And so by layering all of these filters together, I can now have a multitude of filters and charts at my fingertips that really allow me to self-serve and get the data that I need without having to, submit a ticket or go through IT or, follow another process that creates it really just creates a really long turnaround time in some cases. So here I can say, okay, I have all these great membership metrics. In this case, I am reporting on beneficiaries, so individuals who are receiving, memberships from their membership benefits from their organization. And I'm able to go in and say, okay, but I just want to see folks who their, organization, the member org has been, with us for 2 to 4 years. And I can very quickly go in. You saw all my charts update really fast. And now I can say, okay, this is who I've got. This is what my beneficiary breakdown looks like. Looking at those filters. And maybe then I want to get into, how old are some of these members? Maybe I want to focus on, the younger crowd. And I say, I want to make sure that we've got, a good breakdown across ages. And I want to, target those folks whose organizations have been with us less than 5 years, and either beneficiaries or, on the younger side, let's bring them in. Maybe let's generate, a campaign. Let's talk about different ways to offer programming to them, things like that. The other way that we can use this data and all of these charts, and something that you want to get out of the analytics product is the ability to clean up your data and identify where your data needs to be cleaned up. So one of the really great things about Nucleus in particular and how we've structured this is that it very easily identifies for you, for better or for worse sometimes, what data needs to be cleaned up. And we know nobody has perfect data. Anybody who thinks they do, there's a secret, skeleton somewhere in their data. Everyone has data that needs to be cleaned up. It needs to be continually, kind of refined and polished. And so Nucleus, we've structured the way that we build our charts to very easily point out and surface where data is missing and data might need to be cleaned up. I say might need to be cleaned up because in all cases, you don't need to clean it up. You may decide as an organization that cleaning up this data is not a priority. Capturing this field is not a priority. It doesn't need to be required. You're okay having data missing for some of your members or some of your event attendees or committee members or whoever we're looking at here. But what we do is we make sure that you can very easily see. So anywhere you see these gray not specified bars, it points out to you that you are missing data for these members. So in this case, we've got a couple here. We have one where we have a handful of members who have not provided their date of birth. So we don't know how old they are. And that's fine. And it may be that as an organization, we say, okay, we don't do a lot with this data. That's fine. We don't need to collect it. We're just going to know that we have some members out there who have not provided their birth date information. Or we might say, let's look at a different one. We might say, members by trustee grouping. Well, this is something that really matters to us. And we drive a lot of programming based on this breakdown. And we do a lot of, outreach based on this breakdown. And we like to segment our members this way. And so missing this information matters a little bit more to us. So what we want to do is we want to prioritize as an organization how we go about, we collect this data and we want to track how we're bringing in that data and watch those not specifieds go down and those other values go up. So what I can do is very easily, now that I've identified my priorities, I can very easily identify who these members are and reach out to them And so I don't need to, go back to, my AMS or my CRM or another system, but I can use these filters that we've been using so far. And I can say, show me just the not specifieds. And you'll see again, all my charts update because all my charts are now using that filter. And so now I have these 1,800 folks that I know are missing that trustee grouping. And what I can do, and I'm hiding some of the good stuff down here, but if I were to scroll to the right, you'd see all their contact information. I can take this data table that is reflecting my filtered charts up above. I can export it and I can run off with it to my, my membership department or my email marketing tool, however I want to send this data out or send these emails out. Run off with this contact list and say, these are our people. These are the ones, we want to focus on getting that trustee grouping populated. And then because of, in this case, how Nucleus is connected to, the AMS, what we'll see, because we're bringing in data in near real time, is that as people go in and they update their profiles, these not specified values are going to go down and you can watch all of your other values go up. So it's a little bit satisfying to, actually kind of get real-time feedback, right? You send out the email and then you keep an eye on these numbers and you can watch them change. All right, I mentioned self-service. So again, along the lines of things that, we want to be looking for, things that we can do now. Self-service is a big one that we have been focusing on this year. And that's because we want analytics to be part of everyone's everyday activity. So you'll hear us talk about everyday analytics. I will say it at least one more time before we hang up today, but, being able to really have a successful analytics program, one of the key factors is making sure that it is meeting everyone's needs and it's really integrated into everyone's everyday activities. And so, when we talk about everyday analytics, we want it to be something that you are working right in all the time alongside your AMS or, your event registration system or your community platform or what have you. It is just another tool that you naturally, you're in and out all day long using it to make decisions. So with all of that in mind, we created what we call self-service. And there's actually a handful of components of self-service, but my favorite is the ability to create your own charts. So the other two components, you can bring in your own data, you can upload your own spreadsheets, create your own data sets. You can use an in-app. So within Nucleus, there's a SQL console. So if you're SQL-ly inclined, or for those tech folks that you want to bring on board and bring into Nucleus, they can query all of your data sets using SQL within Nucleus. But there's also the ability to build your own charts. And so as someone who is not an engineer and will never be an engineer, I love the ability that I can create my own charts that look just like all of those charts that we've seen so far. So really quickly, I'll show you what this page looks like and I'll show you what the interface looks like. I created these charts on my own. I went in, I used the wizard. I was able to create my own charts and pages. If I close the editor, you can see I have the same filters that I would have if I were walking through another page in Nucleus. So, if we hop over here for a reminder of this filter menu, we have the same version here. It's a different client, so different options, but the ability to kind of take this to the next level. So you have all the data sets. And remember, we have the data sets and we have the ability, everyone has agreed to the terms and agreed to the definitions. And so now we can build our own charts on the fly. Maybe it's to build out, charts for your board book. Or maybe you're in a meeting and someone is asking questions and you want to throw some charts together really quickly. This is intended to serve all of those purposes. Maybe you just want to do some analysis on your own and you're tired of working in pivot tables and Excel charts, and you want the ability to work with the data sets that you know and trust. And so doing that within Nucleus just makes sense. That is what we have built this for. And so you'll see it's a very easy to navigate chart wizard. You choose your chart type. You choose how you want to look at all of your members, you choose the different metrics. And then just like that, we've got, and I've got one that is skewing my numbers a little bit, MI's over here. You can, throw a chart together and be done. All right, so looking ahead, let's look ahead to, we've got, the basics under our belt. We know where we want to head, but maybe we want to take it a step further. Some other things to keep in mind as you're looking ahead to 2022 and maybe even beyond. Maybe, 2022 is your foundation year and then you want to build off of that. Let's give you some things to think about. One of them is role-based access. This is one of my very favorite examples of things to do in Nucleus and different ways to bring people into your analytics solution. Is with the introduction of role-based access, you are able to carve off segments of, in this case, Nucleus, and give access to different groups of people. So you have all these people using Nucleus for all their different purposes, but you're able to I don't want to call it control, but you're able to, just kind of segment off what they can see, because not everyone needs access to all of the data all the time, right? Everyday analytics for everyone. We've been talking about these things for years. We want everyone to have access to the data, but we also know that there are some cases where, folks don't need access to all the data. In this case, this client has given access to their chapter leaders. So they have a multitude of chapters. They wanted all of their chapter leaders to have access to their membership data, but they didn't need them to have access to everybody's membership data. And so what we were able to do is create roles for each of their chapters. And so here you can see I am logged in as Adams County. I can see just the Adams County data. If I were to come in as a different chapter, I could see access to just my chapter. We've had clients do this for events, do this for membership, do this for their boards. So here you can see, this is one example of an executive summary. And I actually have two examples up here with two different layouts. But what we've had clients do is say, okay, we want to bring our board members into Nucleus because we don't want to create the board books anymore. We want to use Nucleus to do all of our presentations and updates, but we don't need them to have access to everything. So let's give them just their own little board space, and they can come in, they can see the data that they need. If they want to, drill deeper, we can, kind of put up a wall and say, you need to ask questions. You can give them the ability to explore, you cannot. That flexibility is up to you. All right, let's see. Shepherd, I always have more content than I have time. I'm going to keep going and then save a couple minutes at the end for questions. Let's see. This is our newest feature. So there's a feature at the very end I'm going to talk about that is not yet launched, and I want to sneak it today. But this one just came out, and going back to that theme of everyday analytics, I really love this one. So we looked at the data tables before, and we looked at how we had access to our data. And we could then export that list and run off with it and do things. But what we've now done is we've created a link within the data table that allows you to link back to another page, another site, another system, whatever you want. So in this case, this client is linking back all of these customer names, link back to their AMS. And it links back to the individual's membership profile in every single case. So if I'm going through here and I'm filtering down and I'm looking at all my different constituents, and maybe I want to look at, Wayne Bell's record, I can click here. It will take me over, in this case, to Netform and to, his profile, and I can do whatever I need to do there in my other tab, and then I can hop back over to Nucleus. We have other cases where this can link to another Nucleus page. So maybe you want to look at engagement scoring, and you're looking at engagement scoring for an organization, and then you want to drill down to the individuals who are contributing to the organization's score. You can put the link here to another page in Nucleus to look at that individual's engagement details. And you can just link to another page in Nucleus, and it allows you to very easily hop around and back and forth between pages. So I love the way that we have set this up, because we have created it with flexibility in mind, knowing that every single client's use case is going to be a little bit different, and we want to make sure that we are ready to embrace that and empower you to use it however works best for you. Oh, hello. All right, so let's see. Very last thing, thinking ahead, we have heard a lot recently about surveys. Clients are, surveying their members, they're surveying event attendees, they're doing, surveys on, the state of the industry. And so while it's not one of the, I hesitate to call it more traditional, but kind of the, the modules that we've always talked about, or the different areas of an AMS, or, the standard departments, this is a great use for Nucleus, because you can then, offer this up in, you can provide results to your members or your constituents or whoever is consuming this a lot faster than having to do the manual analysis and create the documentation. And you can also then control whether this is, public or private. So this example in particular is actually embedded in their website. So anybody can go over to this, anybody can explore this survey, and they've, taken away the ability, or, the requirement to log in and have just opened this up to the public, which I love. All right, very last thing, and then we'll open it up for a couple questions and final thoughts. Is engagement scoring. So we've talked about, bringing in data from all of your systems and layering in that data. And I think one of the most valuable places for bringing in that data and really starting to see, the layers is, one, analyzing just kind of the makeup of your membership and what they're participating in, but then that naturally flows into engagement scoring. So what are my members participating in? What are my non-members participating in? Who do I need to be chasing down that is currently a non-member but highly engaged with us? Who would make a really great member that isn't already? It's a great way to very easily identify, who your membership department should be going after and targeting. But what I love about this chart is, and I'm going to take out our email activities because email always skews my chart when I pull this up, is I love this chart because it allows you to see very quickly, what are people participating in? What are my members participating in? What are the orgs participating in? What are my individuals participating in? What is most popular? What is not as popular as I thought it would be? And where do we need to maybe offer programs again? Where do we need to boost our programming? What are different topics that folks are interested in? And so this allows me to go month by month and look at what are the different activities that are most popular and who is receiving points for which activities. Two other engagement scoring examples, and then I do promise final thoughts, is you're able to see engagement scoring across your organization. So we're looking here at, by activities and what activities are most popular, but here you can see overall, how are folks doing? How are we engaging with everyone on, an organization level? And what I love about this example is, in this client's case, they have points that are being accrued at an organizational level. So they're participating in, certain activities, they're publishing articles, as these are hospitals in particular. And then they have individuals who are doing things like opening emails and attending events. And so you're able to then see, what's the makeup of these points? What's the breakdown? What is, individuals versus organizations? Where are the contributions really coming from? I can look at both. I can look at one at a time, and I have the flexibility to go back and forth. All right, my very last example is being able to see what folks are not participating in. So this example actually came out of, this entire filter and this capability came out of a client's request for, I want to be able to see who is not donating to our foundation, but who is highly engaged. The client who came to us was like, I know they are out there. I know they exist. It is cumbersome for me to pull. Give me an easy way to do it. And so that is just what we did, is we went through and we said, okay, here's a new filter, identify what you want to know, what are folks not participating in, choose their engagement level. And you can see really quickly here, I have now pulled together roughly 500, almost 600 individuals who are highly or very highly engaged right now for this quarter, and they have not donated. So this is the list that I'm going to take to my foundation. I'm going to say, run with this list, go find these people, and let's start a campaign and recruit them to donate. Whew. All right, final thoughts before we end today. I could do this all day long. So if anything that I have mentioned today, has set off a light bulb or resonates with you, or, has just, even a teeny tiny spark that you'd like to explore what this looks like a little bit more for you and your organization, please reach out. I would love to talk about it more. I did promise one sneak peek of our newest feature. And so before I go, I will share that, which is that we talked about how we're bringing in data from all of your different systems, and we bring it in as close to real time as possible. We're actually making an upgrade to that functionality this quarter, in the next few weeks, actually, so that data will be coming in even closer to real time. It's basically going to be real time at this point. As something happens in your AMS, whatever system you're working from, it comes over to Nucleus. And so, it's really important when you're looking at tools to find a tool that is giving you up-to-date data so that you can best, make decisions. Making decisions based on stale data isn't going to be making accurate data-driven decisions. You're making data based on, yesterday's data, or making decisions based on yesterday's data or last week's data. And that's great, but it's not giving you, up to the minute details and insights and allowing you to, make those last minute decisions that you need to make sometimes. Okay, Shepherd. With that, like I said, I could do this all day long, but let's wrap up and put some contact information up there. So if anyone needs anything, we can get in touch.
Tremendous, Rebecca, many thanks. And everyone, thanks for joining us. The goal here today was to provide examples that we hoped would resonate, and spark some examples, some thoughts on your end of things you're trying to do. But these general examples, as helpful as they can be, aren't nearly as interesting as when we can talk specifics with you. And so please get in touch. We'll also be reaching out to you to make it easy. But when you can tell us the systems you use, because we have integrations with all the commonly used association systems out there, we'll have a feel for the data sources. We know, okay, here's the sort of data then that these systems put out. And then you tell us the sort of challenges you're interested in tackling, first. Our subject matter experts can give you examples. Okay, great. Well, here are others who have used similar data sources to solve similar issues. And that's a way to learn a lot about what's possible today very quickly. And so with that, I'd like to wish everyone a phenomenal rest of your Tuesday. Please reach out to Rebecca. I'm also at your disposal. We'll be sending an email, and we hope to talk to you again soon. All the best.